Hello and a very warm welcome to Weekly Current Affairs. Today is Saturday. We will be taking up the miscellaneous components that have been figured out in various newspapers and magazines in the last 1 week. As you all know, this is one such series where different articles from Monday to Saturday will be covered subject wise. So today, I Madhusudan Reddy will be taking up the following articles which you are going to see on the screen. See, today I have come up with most relevant articles जहाँ पे preliminary examination और mains examination में पूछने की chances काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है. See, the articles that we are going to discuss here as the first one is scientists discovered new species of black corals near Australia. So we are going to discuss about the black corals, उनका origin क्या है, where are they found and what are the significance, what are the characteristics. More specifically from the preliminary point of view. And the second article that we will be taking up is border with Myanmar still sealed. Manipur का border काफ़ी time हो गया seal होकर. तो challenges, issues that they are facing and the possible areas of questions that can be asked in your examination that we are going to deal. And the last article, this is the most important article you can say in terms of the environment. See, on 7th of December there is going to be a 15th बायोडाइवर्सिटी कॉन्फ्रेंस. दिस 15th बायोडाइवर्सिटी कॉन्फ्रेंस में क्या होने वाला है, क्या चर्चा करने वाला है और इंडिया का रिलेवेंस क्या है, कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल्स एंड इश्यूज दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस. एंड इट इज सिंस दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हैज बीन एस्टैब्लिश्ड और द 1992 जहाँ पे कॉन्फ्रेंस हुआ था, अभी इट इज गोइंग टू बी 30 years. सो दैट्स वाई इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो लेट्स क्विकली गो विद द फर्स्ट आर्टिकल. आवर फर्स्ट आर्टिकल सेज दैट scientists discovered new species of black corals near Australia. Yes, there are some new species that have been discovered near Australia. Where exactly near Australia? See, next to Australia you have a sea called Coral Sea. This Coral Sea is present, and in this Coral Sea you find a reef which is very broad reef, that is Great Barrier Reef, that can be seen here. This Great Barrier Reef ke aas-paas you got to see these black corals. Now, are these black corals only present in this region? The answer is no. See, black corals can be present anywhere and everywhere in the world, especially between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, and they can be present till a depth of 8,000 meters also. Can you see these areas जहाँ पे trenches काफ़ी ज़्यादा present है, and it is also the areas where trenches are present. So this is one speciality of the black coral. It is that it can be found in any area, right? So let us quickly see some of the significance and characteristics which are associated with the black corals. Firstly, this article says that there are 5 different species. These 5 different species have been identified and located next to the Great Barrier Reef in the Coral Sea. Now, these are also called as colonial animals. देखो, colonial animals मतलब they are very age-old animals. And see, black corals or Antipatharians, they are also called as Antipatharians, and they can be related to the species called sea anemones. Now, what are the sea anemones? Sea anemones are nothing but one which you are going to see it on the screen. See, they are soft animals which sometimes they can filter feed and they can also eat away the species without their knowledge. These sea anemones are nothing like grassy kind of soft tissue species. So, ये कभी stony corals भी बन सकता है, right? And they are named for their color because these are the species which are found not in the shallow waters but they are found in the deep waters. Now, there is a difference between coral reef and corals. See, corals can be present anywhere and everywhere across the seas, but coral reefs mostly they are present between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn only. Corals of black color, they can be seen everywhere, but coral reefs they are mostly found in Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, that too till a depth of around 8,000 meters also. That is the speciality of this species. Now, why are they black in color? In simple terms, they are black in color because they are competing, they are trying to survive. That's the reason why they are black in color. In this due process, they tend to adapt to live in such a great conditions at a depth of 8,000 meters also, right? Now, there are more than 150 species which are black corals and have been described. Now, at least 14 species of the black corals are currently known from Hawaii. See, Hawaii is a place in the Pacific Ocean, there also you get to see this black corals. And lastly, if I already told you the distribution, they are found in all oceans, all oceans, and they are also carnivorous, right? Now, let us look into the characteristics of these species. See, these characteristics are usually associated with the corals but not coral reefs. Understand the difference. Corals are the species, coral reefs are the ones after they die their secretes are being deposited on the reefs that turned out to be your coral reefs. But within these reefs there can be species living, other species can come and hide, and these corals, they interact and live with their symbiotic relationship with the phytoplanktons and zooxanthellae, right, and that will lead to the formations of coral reefs. See here, they are found growing both in shallow waters and down to the depths of 8,000 meters also. Yes, and some individual corals can live for around 4,000 odd years, and that is the reason why they are called as colonial species. See, 4,000 odd years is a very large number, very big number. That's why they are also called as colonial animals. Now come back, there are some other important aspects that you should also know about these species. That is, these species are also called as filter feeders. Now what is mean by filter feeders? I told you these species are also called as filter feeders. Now filter feeders is nothing but a mechanism where they tend to take the food which is available in and around. Now we are human beings, we have hands, we have other aspects where we can eat by through these mediums. But imagine if there are no hands. That means there are species that do not have hands but have forelegs. They have an own mechanism where they eat with their mouth. And also, if at all, those kind of species, if they are living within the water, outside the water, every species, they tend to adapt to a situation to eat and digest. There is a mechanism. Now one such mechanism to have food which is available in the environment, that is called as filter feeder mechanism. Now let's quickly see what exactly is this filter feeder mechanism. See, filter feeder mechanisms are nothing but such as, have you ever seen whale? This whale as a species, when it is present in the water, it opens its mouth very wide and it takes in the water and also the fishes that are present along. Now it has the tendency to take and swallow everything that is available, and little later it keeps whatever it wants in its mouth or in its body and removes out the water that is present in the body. That means it is simply filtering and feeding for its requirement. Now such kind of species are also your coral reefs of black corals. They are also called as filter feeders. Now let's read this statement. Black corals are filter feeders and eat tiny zooxanthellae that are abundant in deep waters. Yes, they also filter it out and keep that zooxanthellae, and rest of the aspects will be left into the water. While colorful shallow water species which are colorful in nature, but these coral reefs are black in nature. See this black color, this is how they look, right? And I told you they are filter feeders. Now come back. In the examination, there can be possibility of a question that can directly be asked on the filter feeders itself. See, in this filter feeders, there are also other species such as clams, krills, sponges, baleen, even your flamingos and vertebrates and higher invertebrates are also present in these category, right? In simple terms, the definition says that it is a form of food procurement in which food particles or small organisms are randomly strained from water, right? This is your filter feeders. And some birds are also there, I already told you, that is your flamingos, and certain species of ducks and are also called as filter feeders, right? They don't bite and chew, they simply swallow it, and after they throw out whatever that is not required to them. Clear? Now come back. Some other important characteristics that we need to know about the species are, similar to shallow water corals that build colorful reefs of fish, black corals act as important habitats where fish and invertebrates feed and hide from predators in what is otherwise a mostly barren seafloor. Yes, see, usually black corals are present at little lower depth as compared to normal depths of shallow water coral reefs, जहाँ पे sunlight जहाँ तक पहुँच जाएगा वहाँ तक normal coral reefs which are colorful in nature, they can be found. Now little lower strata, these black corals are found. It is also identified that अगर 8,000 meters है, it is also the areas where trenches are present. That means these are the life forms which are present even in the trenches as well, right? See, now this is all we need to know. And some other aspects that is regarding the challenges to deal with these black corals are that recently the founding of these species have been done through a very unified mechanism जहाँ पे robot को नीचे तक it has been sent into the deep waters, and it has identified that robot has not destroyed the coral reefs that are present, but earlier big trawlers and ships used to go a little down and then they used to get these corals for testing and some other medicinal properties as well as other jewelry activities it has been used. Now today the technology is advanced, and now we are hoping that this exploration of the black corals can be done in a proper way. Of course there are many challenges with respect to black corals, but this is one such an attempt where the trawler methods are being taken out, and currently the methods of harvesting of fish, that too in a proper mechanisms that can be done. Now coming to the next article, our next article which deals with the border districts of the Myanmar, they are currently closed. There is a couple of borders across the coast, across the boundaries of the Myanmar and as well as Manipur. They have been closed since the beginning of the pandemic, and also because of the unrest that is going on in the northeast. In this context, what we have to know is from the mapping point of view. The possibility of questions from the mapping can be seen at wide. See, firstly, let us look into the bordering states of Myanmar with India, be it Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram. All the 4 states which are present on the northeastern state, they are having these boundaries with the Myanmar. And especially if you look into, it is the state of Manipur which has the border between India and Myanmar, where the transport corridor is also present. So that's why these 2 places turned out to be important. Now one is More and Tamu. More is in India and Tamu is in Myanmar. So if you see, since last few years, India is now focusing on, instead of looking east, we are acting east. See, this border is one of the important area jahan par not just to look east but also to act east. So act east in the sense we wanted to trade with the east, that is Southeast Asia. We also wanted to trade with respect to various other aspects of trade, tourism also. So for this, the connectivity of road which connects all the way from Kolkata, and also we have another connectivity road which connects New Delhi se lekar Thailand tak. Now this road goes through this tiny border called More Tamo. So if this border is closed, our connections with the Southeast Asia is also under threat. So the Act East policy is currently more or less standstill in terms of the road lines agreement. So इसीलिए अभी वक्त आने वाला है जहाँ पे ये border open करने का, and also the unrest among the local people who wanted to trade with the mainland of India and that of the northeastern part of India, it is quite difficult in these days because of the absence of the boundary lines or border lines that are not opened. And you also know these are the bordering states. These bordering states, if you look into the boundary lines, Mizoram around it has 510 kilometers and Manipur shares around 400, as well as Arunachal Pradesh has 520 and Nagaland has 215. That means the longest boundaries are between Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh. So here Nagaland, as well as the highest trade happens between Nagaland and Manipur in terms of Myanmar. So that's why it becomes very important to look into the mapping aspects, right? And also the trilateral highway of India going through Myanmar and to Thailand, this might also be figured out in the examination in one or the other way. And some famous districts of these area, that is Ukhrul, Chendel, Senapati and Tamenglong, जहाँ पे unrest काफ़ी ज़्यादा है, those were also in the news since last month or so. Along with this, let us also quickly look into the boundaries or the bordering states which Myanmar has. Of course, India is one boundary, other one is Bangladesh also has the boundary lines with Myanmar, Thailand, it also has boundaries with Laos and also with China. So it is a crucial area जहाँ पे boundary lines, it is the central country जहाँ पे India can look towards east. That's why we always have good ties with the Myanmar. So it is now under hot discussion that the border should be opened. Yes, let's wait for the day to come when the border is opened. More such news articles can be found there. Now coming to our last article, this is a very important article, and I am damn sure some or the other type of questions can be coming in the examination from this particular topic. See, on the December 7th, there is going to be 15th biodiversity which is going to be held in Canada, Montreal. So this is an important meeting. Why? Because it is the 30th year since the inception of the Convention on Biological Diversity. The Convention on Biological Diversity is one such aspect which has been signed by major countries across the globe in the year 1992. ठीक है? The genesis happened in 1992, and little later today we are in such a stage of 2022. It's almost 30 odd years. इस 30 साल में ऐसा क्या हुआ, हमने क्या किया, ये काफ़ी important चीज़ें बनता है. And also there are some agreements which have signed previously are going to get in the end in the year 2020, and now we are looking forward to do what to do beyond 2030. उन सारे discussions they are going to happen in the upcoming the Convention on Biological Diversity of 15th meeting. Before that, in order to explain this, firstly let me tell you what exactly is Convention on Biological Diversity and where exactly it focuses. See, this Convention on Biological Diversity has three main and broad objectives. Firstly, its major objective is to protect the biodiversity that is present on the earth. In what means? It is asking the governments to go for protecting the biodiversity through various laws and mechanisms by creating protective reserves in situ as well as ex situ. In this due process, India is also signatory to the CBD, and it is also the only international framework जहाँ पे biological diversity और वहाँ से जो resources utilize extract किया जाता है उनको sustainable way में use किया जाए. ये एक ऐसी legal framework है पूरा दुनिया में, only one legal framework we have with respect to biodiversity. So with this context, it is also becomes important that what are the ways in which India has tried to conserve the biodiversity in India. See, we have come up with various laws, various mechanisms. We also have Wildlife Protection Act, we also have national parks, we also have biodiversity parks, we also have various other in situ and ex situ protected areas. So protected areas are none other than the protection which we have bought through the biological diversity conservation. See that biodiversity conservation can be done in two different ways. First is being in situ, other one is ex situ. In situ means within the same premises you are going to protect that area. Ex situ means you take this species, take to a different area and start to protect them. Be it like seed banks, gene banks, be it like zoological parks, botanical gardens, yeah, various other home gardens, these are considered to be ex situ protections. Now when you see the protected areas network in terms of in situ, it is your sacred groves, that is अगर मान लो एक मंदिर है, मंदिर के अंदर एक पेड़ हो, you are also protecting that पेड़. Now that is called as sacred groves. You protect that plantation in situ then and there, you are not cutting it. And the other one is biosphere reserves. Yes, this is one of the biggest area that can be terrestrial biosphere reserve as well as marine biosphere reserves. And national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, ये काफ़ी सारे protected areas तो है. This is one of the aspects that we need to look forward in the biological conservation diversity. Next, the next aspect that biological diversity conservation deals with is sustainable use of biological diversity. That means if there are any resources that are present on the surface of the earth as well as traditional knowledge of this knowledge should also be given to the future generations without hampering the current scenario of biodiversity. But in the recent times you might have come across that Living Planet report already said that 69% of the total species that are present on the surface of the earth, they have been wiped out since 1970 se lekar ab tak. That means in the last 50 years itself we have wiped out near about 69% of the total biodiversity. So this aspect will also be discussed based on the Living Planet report which has given in the last 1 month. So examination के लिए Living Planet report and as well as this convention is going to be a crucial role जहाँ पे exams का questions बन सकता है. And the other area that is fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from utilization of the biological diversity. I know it is little technical and little looks like dicey to be understood. So let me keep this in a very simple manner. Imagine there is a section of society which has some traditional knowledge or which has some aspects of knowledge with respect to any biological diversity, maybe because of maybe some kind of species, maybe some kind of plants, maybe कुछ animal में कुछ medicinal properties हो, only these people know. Just imagine. Now these people has the traditional knowledge of that species or animal or biodiversity. Now if that kind of knowledge is being utilized by the industries and industries gain profit out of it by selling the products of that species or that area, don't you think that the industry should also pay some premium to the traditional knowledge or the people who are having this knowledge? Yes, of course, the answer should be yes. So recently To explain this, the Biological Diversity Convention, there has been a news article regarding the successful entity of the biological diversity conservation implementations. Now let me tell you what exactly is this case study is. See, this is a species, this is one such species जहाँ पे South Africa में only 2 or 3 traditional communities know the importance of this species and no one else knows. So from this species there is a tea that is extracted, that tea is called as rooibos tea. Rooibos, or pronounced it as rooibos boss. Now this tea is being sold by many companies. See, the extraction of a tea as a knowledge is known by only 2 tribal communities or local communities, that is San and Khoi. Right, San and Khoi are the people who know about how to extract this, but no one else know. It is their traditional knowledge which their ancestors taught to them and these communities. And little later a company came up and they have used the traditional knowledge and then started to produce not just this tea across the places. This tea is now famous. Why? Because it has high antioxidants, no caffeine, good in taste, as well as many medicinal properties are there. If you look here, it is itself says, the manufacturing unit says that there is caffeine free. See, herbal supplements अलग अलग नाम से बेचा जाता है. तो ऐसा एक कंपनी है, वो है नेस्ले. नेस्ले has done what it has done is in the year 2015 around 2010 it has claimed for 5 patents. 5 patents from this species, that means subspecies. इनको थोड़ा modify करके the same traditional knowledge which those people had, Nestle has taken up and started to extract the resources out of it, and it has taken patents. Patents means now it is trying to tell that no one should use this kind of the subproducts of this species, only Nestle can use it to sell and buy, and if at all someone is going to do it, they have to pay some kind of funding to Nestle. Now what about the traditional knowledge or the people, local people who already know about these things, and from that local people only Nestle got to know? Don't you think that Nestle had to pay to them? Yes, Nestle should pay to them. So in the year 2015 what happened is both the San and Khoi, this tribal community or local community, they went to the court and asked the government that ये Biological Diversity Convention Act के through you have to pay me, they have to pay us certain amount of money. Yes, of course. Then with this, little later the government of South Africa has said that Nestle को pay करने के लिए बोला था. How much? It said that you pay 3% of the percentage of the total sales, and before that government has also ordered to go and identify who are the original traditional owners of this particular species. Now they got to know that the traditional knowledge is owned by 10 processors. Who are these processors? Processors are the ones who are carrying this traditional knowledge and teaching this traditional knowledge to the local communities. So the patents that have been filed have put on check, and the government has asked for the traditional companies, for the extracting companies to pay some kind of premium, that is 3% of the total sales, and little later they have identified San and Khoi and 10 processors who have explained and traded this particular species in terms of their local benefit के लिए. So today it is a successful story and near about an NGO called Natural Justice. This NGO called Natural Justice is fighting for the San and Khoi tribe or the local community, and finally the court has ordered whoever is the organization which are fighting first settle with them and pay them. So Nestle is now going to pay near about sufficient amount of fund, that is 1.5% of the total farm gate, जो price होता है ना farm gate से, that 1.5% of the total farm gate price के ऊपर that Nestle has to pay any product that is they are deriving out of from this species. Now this is a win-win situation where not just Nestle, many other companies across the places जहाँ पर UK, US को ये export किया जाता है. Today near about $7 lakh have been given to the Natural Justice as an organization, and this Natural Justice NGO which works for the welfare of the San and Khoi, they are trying to distribute the money in what way this can be utilized or in what way that can be spent for the well-being of these people. Now this is nothing but the Biological Diversity Conservation Act. In simple terms, let's go back and see what exactly the Biological Diversity Conservation Act says. It says that fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization of biological diversity. That means biological diversity here is the species, that is rooibos, and fair and equitable sharing of benefits is nothing but any product that is extracted, that product industry should also pay some premium to the local traditional knowledge of the local communities. This is the first aspect. And the second aspect, which I have already told you, convention of biological diversity, yes, through protected areas we are doing it. And the third one, sustainable use of biological diversity, that means whatever the resources that we are using today, that resources should also be utilized for the future generation without impacting the future generations. And let us quickly see some other aspects of this Biological Diversity Conservation Act so that you would be ready for the upcoming 15th Biological Diversity Convention and you get a complete knowledge and picture. As and when any update, I myself will be taking up again and again these topics, right? See, in the 1992 the CBD has been started, and little later you got to see in the 1994 for the first time the conference of parties, that means whichever the parties that have signed, they came and they sat and they are asked to go make some legal framework, make some legal agreement in your own country, and they started to make their own legal agreements. And if you know that dealing with the traditional knowledge and benefit sharing is discussed in the year 1998, yes, and in the year 2010 if you see, equitable sharing of benefits arising from the utilization is adopted, and targets, that is targets of Aichi, by the name Aichi targets, they have come up. Now what are these Aichi targets? Aichi targets are nothing but they said that we are going to have 20 targets. The 20 targets need to be achieved by 2020. Now it is already 2 years since the achievement of this, since the completion of the Aichi targets, but लेकिन अब हम जो मीट करने वाले हैं in the 7th of December, they are going to discuss 2030 तक हमें क्या करना चाहिए और इसके बाद क्या करना चाहिए, right? And here the possibility of questions that can be asked is, are we successful enough in reaching the 20 targets that have been discussed in the Aichi 2020, right? In the year 2010 we targeted 20 targets. Now what are these 20 targets? For example, if you take any of the target here, maybe protected areas. See, for protected areas it was a target that we have to protect certain percentage of the protected areas by the year 2020. If at all, for our understanding, what we need to do is how many targets we have achieved and what targets we have not achieved. That can be the area for the mains examination. And for preliminary examination is the upcoming Aichi target, Aichi targets bhi ban sakta hai, ya, or else any kind of changes that we are going to see in the 7th. So in this due aspect, look here, what are we going to discuss on 7th of December? It is, they are saying 30 into 30 targets. Now what are these 30 into 30 targets? What are the discussions that are going to happen? See, it is post 2020 global diversity framework calls for preparation of 30% of the total world land and sea area by 2030. This is a very realistic or unrealistic aspect, I really don't know, but it is a very ambitious target, very ambitious target, jahan pe the 30% of the total world's area they wanted to protect the global biodiversity framework. In what ways? They wanted to give protection through the areas by converting them into a national park, a protected reserve, a biodiversity area, so that some laws can be implemented, right? And also this is the one aspect, that is conservation of the biological diversity. And let's look into the other aspect jahan pe equitable sharing and resources arising out from the biological resources. See, suppose within the same framework you will also be given a certificate called internationally recognized certificates of compliance. Now this internationally recognized certificates of compliance says that if particular area or particular community is given this certificate, it is an indication that, or an industry is given a certificate, it is an indication that they are adhering to the principles of the Convention on Biological Diversity and they are sharing the benefits. And also the ambitious target of 30 into 30 by the year 2030, says that it is asking indirectly to convert the most of the areas jahan pe national parks or protected areas, if you haven't declared, it is asking the government to declare and then come up. So in this due process there is also criticism that has been heard. Now what is this criticism? The criticism is that because of that targets, 30-30 targets, the chances are that there can be land grabbing issues that can be done. And it is also says that the traditional knowledge which can be used by the local people, that no longer the traditional areas can be having the benefits sharing capability. For example, let me try to explain you in a simple way. See, there is a tribe called Kani tribe of Kerala. ये Kani tribe of Kerala एक ऐसी tribe है, they have the traditional knowledge of Arogya Pancha. This Arogya Pancha is a plant, but लेकिन little later what happened is that जहाँ पे ये plants which are present, that area is converted into a national park. So you already know what are the laws which are there in the national park. When you have these laws in the national park, can you extract or take plants from the national park? The answer is no. In spite of this community having a traditional knowledge with respect to this plant, जहाँ पे medicinal plant भी है, these people are not getting any kind of benefits from this. Why? National park says that you cannot take the trees out from the national park or plants out from the national park. See, this is an area of contradiction जहाँ पर Convention on Biological Diversity which says that equitable benefit on sharing of biological resources should be done and the benefit should be shared equally. Currently, this kind of benefit or traditional knowledge this tribe is having, but still not being able to utilize this because 30 into 30 like targets, they are increasing the national park area. So here the agenda or the what we have to look for is we have to give solutions. Now what are these solutions? Solutions is that agar if 30-30 targets are to be realistic, we need to also go for amendments in the Forest Rights Act. किस टाइप के amendments होना चाहिए? That means अगर कोई traditional knowledge है किसी tribal community का, किसी local communities का, that traditional plantation should be demarcated or some kind of mechanism should be brought up and changes in the Forest Rights Act, national parks, as well as it is asking to go for various changes. Now will India be ready to this or not? We have to only wait till 7th of December. What are the outcomes that are going to come? We have to wait and watch only, right? And lastly, see, this is a realistic framework if it is implemented in a practical way. It says that for the first time it is talking about value, कितना पैसा चाहिए, क्या चाहिए, ये सब चीजें बात कर रहे हैं, and they are talking in numerical terms. See, the framework aims to protect 30% of the land and sea by 2030 by converting them into national parks, biodiversity reserves in one or the other way. That is called as 30-30 targets. And one such target, if you see, within the target they are trying to go for reduce pesticide use by half and also lower the rate of induction of invasive species by half. Reduce pesticide by half, that means whatever the pesticide that we are utilizing today, they are asking to cut it down by 50%. Now would you think it is possible? It is very difficult task because fertilizers as a content, it has so much of nitty-gritties which are involved. And lastly, the certificates that are given across the globe, this itself can be a question in your preliminary examination. Why? It is because see, India is the only country across the globe which has given more than 3,136 certificates. If you see, major nations across the globe, they did not even issue, be it the Canada, look into US, small number of certificates they have issued, but look at India, 3,136. This is the area of India's interest. India is asking go implement these kind of certificates so that you both can adhere to yourself. In terms of conservation of biological diversity, एक छोटा कहानी बताया जाए तो मान लो जो हल्दी हम रोज घर पे यूज किया जाता है, अगर कभी आपको बचपन में चोट भी लगा होगा, the most immediate medicine was chai pata and haldi. So imagine if US coming to India and it has taken haldi and the medicinal properties it has patented, that this haldi cannot be utilized by any other company across the globe except only the companies that are present in US and those which own the patents. Don't you think that it is flawed? Yes, of course it is flawed. See, in order to avoid those kind of activities, we give these kind of certificates, right? These certificates are given to the companies, these certificates are given to the tribal communities so that they have a mutual understanding. हम Convention on Biological Diversity Act की norms and regulations के साथ आगे बढ़ने वाले हैं. Look at the number 10, 11, 3, 9, 39. See here 3136. Now preliminary examination में scope तो high है. Come back. Lastly, some important aspects, the financials. Recently you also got to know that global environmental facility करके एक fund होता है. ये जो fund है, that fund what it does is it gives funding mechanisms, it brings and gives funding to the biodiversity also, nature restoration also, pollution related aspects as well as change in developing countries के लिए climate change अगर हो रहा है उनके लिए पैसा दिया जाता है. उस टाइप की पैसा. Now in order to meet the demand of the global biodiversity conservation हमें चाहिए $200 बिलियन. बट लेकिन हमारे पास कितना पैसा है अभी? तो we only have 5.33 billion which is given by global environmental facility, and that too this is 3 to 5% of the highest funding which they ever got. आज तक उतना पैसा मिला ही नहीं है, पहली बार उस टाइप की पैसा 5.33 billion they are going to get. In this, India is also one of the nations, so India should get some kind of benefit from this funding because we are the ones of the top performers, right? And lastly, in terms of resource benefit में एक छोटा सा issue ये है, according to the CBD, each country will be having sovereign rights over the genetic resources which it is having, right? Remember this point very, very carefully. According to CBD, each country will be having rights and sovereign rights over its genetic resources, but the free availability of their genetic data undervalue the resource and traditional knowledge. Today, it is the age of technology. In this technology, if you start to diversify the knowledges, that knowledge can be utilized in a misappropriate way. So regarding this point also there is going to be talks. ये अपना मेंस का फोल्डर बनता है, ठीक है, right? And lastly, that's it. This is it for today. If you do like this content, please press that thumbs up button, and a question related to the Seize the Mains or one of the question from this particular articles will be asked in the comment section. Please go to the link there and try to write that answer so that your answers will be evaluated by our expert team. And please make the utilization of this resource. This is going to be one of the finest resource, and you will get the best available feedback mechanism which this institution has. Thank you guys, and see you next week with more relevant articles for the UPSC.